Welcome to Structures, the show that explores Toronto's incredible history and architecture. I'm Heather Seaman. On this episode, we visit St. Michael's College School, an institution that has given rise to leaders, priests, and more hockey stars than any other school in North America.
When I first came to school, I thought it's a big school, big arena, big field, there's a lot of history here. I went inside and, it's yellow brick walls, a lot of heritage there, and I just thought this is amazing.
When I talk to the kids and I tell them about the legacy of St. Mike's, I say, you know what, when you put on that M, you're not just wearing an M for yourself, for the team, for the school, but there's a tremendous history and tradition that goes on here, something that you'll probably never really realize until a few years down the road.
Established in the Catholic tradition, St. Michael's College School is an independent school for boys, the largest of its kind in Canada. For more than 60 years, it has been located on a picturesque campus at Bathurst and St. Clair. Founded in 1852, classes were once offered at the high school and college levels. While the college portion evolved into the University of St. Michael's College in the University of Toronto, the high school was autonomous by the early 1900s.
St. Michael's College School was established by Bishop de Charbonnel, who was the second Catholic Bishop of Toronto, and he invited the Basilian Fathers, who had been his teachers in France, to come and open the school.
Before the school had its own home, classes were held at St. Michael's Palace, known today as St. Michael's Cathedral Rectory. Located at today's Church and Shooter Streets, this brick structure stands near St. Michael's Cathedral, which served as the inspiration for the school's name.
The whole idea was eventually that boys would end up in the priesthood, and so it was very important for them to understand how to deal with challenges to their faith, and at the same time also to be able to deal with the world around them. So it's very much a classical type of system.
In 1856, St. Michael's College moved to today's Bay and St. Joseph Streets. There, a spectacular new school was built that included a buff brick church and adjoining college building. St. Basil's Church was designed to resemble a 13th century medieval abbey. For many years, it played an important role in the lives of the students.
Clover Hill, like the school itself, there was a tunnel leading over to the chapel, which was underneath St. Basil's Church. We used to go over there for Mass and benediction and different functions of Stations of the Cross. The teaching of the religion was really, really important, and we had great priests there, and the best school in the world, as far as I'm concerned, is St. Mike's.
Located on a site known as Clover Hill, the college building had classrooms, boarding quarters, and offices for students, both at the high school and college levels. At Clover Hill, St. Mike's legendary hockey tradition began.
Father Henry Carr was the first one to create both football teams and hockey teams for the college school. In around 1906, Father Carr realized that the high school seemed somewhat detached from the community. And he also believed very strongly that competitive sports were very important in character building. So at the time, he created the college school's hockey team. The problem was they didn't have anybody to play. So he contacted some other schools, and Upper Canada College and St. Andrews College both joined in what became the Prep School League. And that first year, St. Mike's won the championship of the Prep School League. A few years later, they got into the OHA, and the hockey legend was really born.
One of the great benefits of being a student athlete at St. Michael's College School, especially a hockey player, was the fact that the close proximity to Maple Leaf Gardens. The Gardens allotted time for St. Mike's teams to practice there and also play there. Some of the bigger teams played there, the Majors, the Buzzards would play there, but they always were allowed to practice at the Gardens, which was a great benefit to the school because that was a draw for students. Previous to that, you either practiced or played on an outdoor rink.
Football was also played very extensively in house league in the school. There were about 10 teams that all had CFL names, and it was played for about 30 years in house league. So there were a large number of boys, even if they didn't play hockey, most of the boys would have wound up by playing football at some time. The students playing football and rugby would have used the football field that was immediately adjacent to the grounds at the time. In the wintertime, that same field, part of it would be flooded for an outdoor rink for hockey. One of the Globe and Mail reported in the late 1920s that when you went to visit St. Mike's during the fall, all you saw were footballs flying all over the place because it seemed like every area had some team playing or some team practicing. Football was wildly popular in the school in the late 20s and into the 30s, and still is very, very popular here today.
Even though the high school and college came to function separately, they still shared the same buildings. However, more space was needed for the high school, and in 1902, the Teefy Wing was added. This elegant structure had a noticeable presence on Bay Street for many years. Finally, the Basilian Fathers decided to move the high school north to the St. Clair and Bathurst area, where they owned property. At this location was a convent owned by the Sisters of St. Joseph and an orphanage. Also here was a school for new priests on Tweedsmuir Avenue. For the new building, the Basilian Fathers wanted the architecture to symbolize the timeless presence of the Catholic faith in Toronto. So the search was on for the right architect. We'll find out who that was next.